Norma," at like 4 p.m. and informed me that she was flooded in. So she wasn't going to make it. She needed a canoe to get to her truck. She sent me a picture of this guy in a canoe going down the street. She's like, "This looks like my house right now." But yeah, when we were coming to church, probably from a tree, because there's the crews that were looking like they were tree cutting. So okay, so we're gonna go through Genesis 24. This is a very long chapter, so we're actually gonna break it up into two parts. So we're only gonna go through verse 34 tonight, and then next time we come back, we'll do a very quick synopsis of the first part and then go through the second part, because it will be 3 weeks. So we don't want to forget everything that we did on the first part. Before I start, Mitch, can you open us in prayer, please? So like what I normally do, I will read through verse 1 through 34, and then we'll go through our questions. We have 6 questions for this session, although I'm sure we will talk about a whole lot more. There's a lot of stuff in this chapter. For those of us who were here in Sunday school 3 weeks ago, he went through a decent portion of Genesis 24, going through different virtues that different people had, and Rebecca was one of the ones that he went through. And so we have a little bit more background information from that, as well as your normal reading and stuff. So here we go. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. So Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all that he had, "Please put your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But you shall go to my country and to my family, and take a wife for my son Isaac." And the servant said to him, "Perhaps the woman will not be willing to follow me to this land. Must I take your son back to the land from which you came?" But Abraham said to him, "Beware that you do not take my son back there. The Lord God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my family, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, 'To your descendants I give this land,' he will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman is not willing to follow you, then you will be released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there." So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed, for all his master's goods were in his hand. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a well of water at evening time, the time when women go out to draw water. Then he said, "O Lord God of my master Abraham, please give me success this day, and show kindness to my master Abraham. Behold, here I stand by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now let it be that the young woman to whom I say, Please let down your pitcher that I may drink, and she says, Drink, and I will also give your camels a drink. Let her be the one you have appointed by your servant Isaac, and by this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master. And it happened, before he had finished speaking, that behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her pitcher on her shoulder. Now the young woman was very beautiful to behold, a virgin. No man had known her. And she went down to the well, filled her pitcher, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, Please let me drink a little water from your pitcher. So she said, Drink, my lord. Then she quickly let her pitcher down to her hand and gave him a drink. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels also, until they have finished drinking. Then she quickly emptied her pitcher into the trough, ran back to the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And the man, wondering at her, remained silent so as to know whether the Lord had made his journey a prosperous or not. So it was, when the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a golden nose ring weighing half a shekel, and 2 bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels of gold, and said, Whose daughter are you? Tell me, please, is there room in your father's house for us to lodge? So she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, Milcah's son, whom she bore to Nahor. Moreover, she said to him, We have both straw and feed enough and room to lodge. Then the man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his mercy and his truth toward my master. As for me, being on the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. So the young woman ran and told her mother's household these things. Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban, and Laban ran out to the man by the well. So it came to pass, when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and when he heard the words of his sister Rebekah, saying, Thus the man spoke to me, that he went to the man, and there he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, Come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and a place for the camels. Then the man came to the house, and he unloaded the camels, and provided straw and feed for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the feet of the men who were with him. Food was set before him to eat, but he said, I will not eat until I have told about my errand. And he said, Speak on. So he said, I am Abraham's servant. Yeah, they're hungry. What was the importance of getting a wife from their own country and family? Part of it is, what do the Canaanites worship? You know, you're bringing a split household now. Now, saying that Rebecca and them weren't necessarily worshiping God either, which we'll find out a little later. Where Talking about verse 3, he's saying that I'll make you swear by God that you won't do this. Yeah, because he's not allowed to take Isaac away from this land. I think part of the biggest thing here is to keep this separation between him and the rest of the people of the land. Yeah, well, for a reason. Can't be effective if you fit in and become one of everybody else. You know, you're not special almost in that regard. Well, that's the big thing. You know, Isaac then grows back up over there and never comes back. Oh yeah. And Abraham's dying, so then this whole Israelite nation just disappeared. Somewhere between the age of 14 and 24, roughly. Because we don't have a timeline. Okay, we yeah, which changes his age. That was the age from 2 chapters ago, and it's never updated the timeline. But we just went through. Okay, so we just jumped in timeline because he just buried. Abraham just buried Sarah, and Sarah lived 127 years. And so Abraham's 100, basically 130, 129 in chapter 23. But Abraham lives to 175. So he's not dead yet, but if we're pushing if 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 we jump say 40 years, then now you're looking at Isaac probably being 60ish, somewhere in that range. Well, okay, then that means that when they're saying that he's really old right now, he's not. He's just old. He's not like about to die then. Because if they say he's 40, then Abraham's 150 ish. So we'll know. Okay, question number 2. How many camels did the servant take? Well, sounds good. Yep. No, no, good. Now we have a confirmed answer. Okay, so in Sunday school a couple weeks ago when we went through Rebecca, he brought up some really interesting points that we just don't stop and think about how the logistics of things happen. 10 camels that have been traveling all day are generally pretty thirsty. And so he kind of went through, like, if you figured the pitcher that she's bringing water with is this much and they need to drink this much and they drink their fill, how long would it take? Of her own volition. Like, all he ever asked her to do was give him a drink of water. And, chosen or not, she still had to make the choice. And that's the choice she made. And she spent quite a bit of time. The other thing that's added into here is that, this happened like in the evening when all of the women are going to the well, so you're taking turns as well. You don't have it all yourself. It's not a quick process. So she put a lot of work into that. It wasn't like, in the movies, I guess you'd say, where it's all nice and quick and romantic and, movies. Yeah. So funny is the very first pitcher was whatever he didn't drink. She didn't go refill that one. She's like, "Oh, you're done with this? Okay, let's go into your camels then." Then she went and refilled it. 320 ish. He said 5 gallons would be the most, which if you figure that's you carry 5 gallon. Yeah. They were strong back then. Like yolks. I'm on a mission. Yes. It's interesting too because afterward he then asked her, whose daughter are you? What household are you from? Because it still needed to be someone from their family. And it, coincidence, thanks God. think part of the thing that's interesting too is he hadn't even stopped talking with God before she showed up. And it's one of those things that, like, we still need to do our asking part. But God's already set things in motion long before we ever got around to asking for it. Because he needs to know. Well, then be any lady. I mean, he doesn't know. Okay, so how did the servant know who God would appoint as Isaac's wife? So obviously we just went through that. She'll give him a drink. She'll get all of the camels water. And then what did Rebecca receive from the servant for her work? Well, even if she did, she wouldn't be expecting it to be for her. Well, it's probably someone who's been with him the longest and really knows what he's looking for and will actually carry out his wishes. Because you'll get someone young and dumb and I know what he actually needs. Yeah, that wouldn't go so well. Steal from the richest guy in the land who wins all his battles. He better have some really fast camels. But yeah, she went into this with no expectations of reward. And that was the big lesson from Sunday school before. You get blessed the most when you're not expecting it. You're doing it on your own volition because it's the right thing to do. And he added into the fact too that her household got blessed. Her family got blessed, not just her, based on her actions. And the bracelet and the nose ring, that's all great right now, but obviously, like, she's going to become the wife of Isaac and inherit a whole lot more wealth than those three little things. Not yet. It says a little bit more detailed later, but we'll get to that. What does he say? Verse 31. It wasn't until he got to their house, though, and got food, did he ever tell them that he was Abraham's servant. So they still didn't know who he was until then, though. He'd already been invited into their house. They already took care of all his camels and stuff, and they got food for him and his men. Because verse 34 is when he's finally like, I am Abraham's servant. So he wanted to set it then if he had said it before. I mean, I'm sure he would be someone important if he has all this other stuff. But outside of that, he had some people with him. Yeah, because verse 32, they unloaded the camels, provided straw and feed for the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. It just doesn't say how many. And so let's see, Abraham and Nahor are brothers. And then you go Bethuel is their son. Rebecca's their daughter. So it's Abraham is like, as weird as this is, Abraham is Rebecca's great uncle, which means Isaac be second cousin, right? Yeah. Where did the servants stay the night? Verse 28 makes me just, it's an interesting verse to me, because Rebecca runs back but she tells her mother's household. Bethuel. Like, it does actually say her mom's name. She's, I'm the daughter of Bethuel, Milcah's son, whom she bore to Nahor. So Nahor is her grandpa, Milcah is her grandma, and Bethuel's her father. And the way she goes time, like is her introduction is Bethuel's daughter, the son of Milcah, who bore him to Nahor. So she skips her mother in both introductions, but she adds in her grandma. So her and her grandma must be close. To me, it's interesting because she goes from um the daughter of Bethuel, but she runs back and tells her mother's household these things. And I don't know if that means anything. It's just the difference there is interesting. Well, that's the thing. Is like, are they not in the same? Or are they in different tents? They're old enough now that we can't sleep in the same room together. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Laban's still at home though. It's interesting to me knowing later in the story how Laban messes with Jacob when he comes to get his wives. Well, originally his wife, because there's that tie right there. It's why Laban's Jacob's uncle as well as cousin, way further down the line cousin. But here, like, Laban comes out. Come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I prepared the house and a place for the camels. Like, he knew about God. He could see at least the signs and stuff. And then later on, he changed a little bit as he got older, I guess. Like living with the saints above and then living with the saints below, that's a different story. So this is where, it's a little weird thinking about it, but this is where God's like in control of everything. Now, if you were to marry your first cousin or closer, the your DNA is too similar, so you create problems in the kids, like defects. But when the world started, and it's like you're limiting the gene pool, right? We're pulling out genes they don't no longer exist, and so you're going from all these different genes, and you're slowly bringing everything down. If you were to do that, but how do we get that many genes to start with? Because they started from two people, and you can have as many recessive genes as you want. They're not going to get them all out theoretically. Anyway, though, it's a very purposeful, obvious statement in God's favor that, as we went through generations, He keeps adding genes to the gene pool. It's also one of those things that, like, when the Tower of Babel happened and we added, different languages, everything else like that, and those came in, did he add more then as well to make more cultural difference? I mean, we don't know, but that would be a time frame that would be very kind of in the realm of everything else that's happened to make more distinct differences between people groups. Anyways, so the last question here is, what happens when we serve without expecting a reward? And it's a semi-trick question. Only if you're at grandma's house. So I think the answer that we would gravitate towards, especially after this story, is that if you serve without expecting a reward, you will get a reward. But it's not always true. Yeah. Now, when I say that's not always true, though, it is always true if your heart's in the right place, because your reward will be joy. No, and okay, but not to throw. This is turning into a theoretical situation because this is not true per se. But if you decided that you weren't going to go do that, somebody else could still fill that role. Now, not always, obviously, in the real world. Sometimes you are the person that has to do that. And there's different roles that we take on that is ours to take on, whether you want to do them or not. But Your attitude will change the outcome to a degree, but very much either how hard it's going to be, how long it's going to take, and how you affect the people around you. Because you can feed that kid and he has his food and his full stomach, or you can be joyful and put joy on his face. There's a big difference there. Philippines. Mm-hmm. Yep. I think of the food bank a lot when we go into this type of thought process. The workers there are there because they want to be there. You don't generally find somebody there that's really really grumpy and they showed up because they have to work, because it's a volunteer basis. You don't have to be there. So the ones that are there because they want to be there, and it's its own little realm, like a mini community of the workers. And sometimes you have the people that are coming in that are slightly on the irritating side, or however that works. But you always have the other workers there that are you know putting joy into your own life as you're working. And so it almost doesn't even matter what their responses are. And I mean, most of the workers in the back, you guys aren't even interacting with them anyway. But it's the same kind of concept though as the shoe boxes. You're filling this box, and then it gets pushed out front. Somebody you don't really know, but you know what it means to that person, and so you get that joy from doing the work and doing the deed, regardless of how they receive it. With the kids are generally way more enthusiastic than adults are half the time. But we don't, see their face. I mean, we do a little bit on some of the videos that they bring back, but specifically, you don't know what they're like. But it doesn't change what we're doing and the joy we're getting from it. I mean, packing party here. Oh my gosh, there's so much laughter and giggling all over the place. I mean, I'm in here and I can hear you guys. I don't even have a door over here anymore. It comes all the way around through two doors and a whole siding. I still hear you guys. So I guess the big question right now is, why doesn't that transition to other places of work? this too is we come from an atmosphere of entitlement and selfishness, which a lot of that is pride. But if we turn that on the head and we come from an attitude of gratitude for what we have and what God's provided for us, rather than what we think we deserve or what we've earned, then life has a very different outlook. And it's a very obvious outlook. And people around you makes it very obvious. Okay, so normally we'd be back in 2 weeks, but we're going to push it off one more week. So we'll be back at the end of the month, and then we'll have 2 Sundays back to back that we'll have evening service. Because in 2 weeks it's Valentine's weekend, and there's a lot of people going to be gone. So Valentine's weekend in 2 weeks. Sometimes. Yeah. So we're pushing it back one more week to okay, it would have been interesting to find how long he'd take to figure that one out. So anyway, we'll go back over, like, I'll read through this first section as well, but then we'll mainly be focusing on the second half of this chapter when we come back. Gail, can you close us in prayer, please?